Yeah, of course. It was like 2 inverse. The drink. The less work you do, you think about having the right idea down. Yeah. Seems your shoe.
Anybody have it? Good? Erase? Number 7. Look over your premises, anticipate how they might be used, and if possible, what conclusion would be drawn from them. No matter how long the proof is, at some point soon, it should take all about 2 seconds to determine what the last step has to be. It's that easy. Does curl S exist anywhere? Does curl S exist anywhere in the premises?
We're creating it.
Only one way to create a curl. Only one way to create a curl.
Okay. Okay.
I've taken all the mystery out of this procedure. I'm serious. They just buy into the process that I'm explaining to you. It's not a problem. What about that number 3? It's actually no big deal. I think we can handle it now.
Oh no. I do believe. Hard. Oh. Yeah, it's not start You're just setup as you go on.
I'm like the ghost of Christmas past,
Yeah.
pointing at the tombstone.
One and two.
Here they are.
Picking it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a question.
Yeah.
What happened to the parentheses when you, in the addition, when you moved it up, the G, the H? You circled, what happened to the parentheses there?
Where? Here?
No, right below.
Here?
Yeah.
4 to 3.
That doesn't take parentheses. That would be incorrect.
So it's trying to separate that.
That doesn't require punctuation. It does when it's part of a larger statement. Yeah. If you have punctuation where it doesn't belong, that's incorrect. If you don't have punctuation where it does belong, that's incorrect. See? G.H doesn't need punctuation because
It's not part of it.
there's absolutely no difference between those two statements. There's no difference. Therefore, there's no punctuation. That's meaningless. So it requires punctuation. Sometimes you'll be extracting a punctuated component out of a larger statement. And you got to get rid of that punctuation because it doesn't belong. I say we do one more pretty challenging one on your test. Take a quick break. It's going to take me a half an hour to pass out all your test stuff and go over it on the dog camp. This is enough for tonight, I think. It's a lot of stuff in one night. Don't want to bombard you, right? So, let's do one more on your own. I want to say a word, not a peep. Total silence. Number 12.
Okay. Just automatic first.
Go. See that first premise there? That should suggest two things to you. Either simplification, because after all, it is a conjunction, right? It's also a conjunction of two horseshoes, which is one of our other premises. Very common premise. Bringing my own DVDs for anybody wants to be in tonight's film and get your proof done, you could do it on the board for us and demonstrate the exacting format that we're demanding, as well as the correct proof. You don't have to put your work on the board. We know what your notation means. Just your lines of proof and notation.
I think I got it.
Volunteer for us?
Sure.
Okay, hold on. How many other people have it? All right. Made a lot of headway tonight. Again, I scheduled way too much time before the next test. It's not even, it's after that break. I mean, we've got like 4 weeks or something. It's crazy. All right, Triumph music. It's like Indiana Jones. Right?
That was a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That part, trickiest looking to go from that to that.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I want to do this
That
one
threw me off first.
to point out a procedure that I don't think we've done tonight. I'm sure you'll anticipate either addition or construct a dilemma. Additional work but it's too many steps. So 99 times out of 100, when you've got a proof done correctly, I mean, there's no mistakes there, but it's more steps than what you're instructed. It almost always goes back to where you made a choice between two rules. We have two ways of creating wedges, and we have two ways of creating horseshoes. And sometimes you don't know which one is going to be used. So you pick one, right? So if you pick one and do everything right, and it comes out too long, it must be the other rule. So that's the case here. Addition will work, and it's the one I've been recommending you try, but it's too long. It's not the right rule. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to be, you should conclude, it has to be constructive dilemma. Constructive dilemma is a pretty complicated argument form. And you don't always know exactly what your premises have to look like. In almost every case tonight, I said, hey, you got the conclusion, you know what the premise has to be. It's almost never the case with constructive dilemma. So what you have to do when you're mapping out your strategy is supply all the information that you do know. So, for example, I know that I need, not that. I know that my first premise has to be a conjunction of two horseshoes. We know that, right? And we know that the consequence of those horseshoes are the disjuncts of the conclusion. You know that by looking at the argument form. You know your second premise has to be a wedge. Don't know exactly what those disjuncts have to be, but you do know that that disjunct has to be the same as the antecedent of that horseshoe. And this disjunct has to be the same as the antecedent of that horseshoe. So you map it out like that. That's all valuable information. Then you look around to see what you have that resembles anything there. Well, we don't even have a wedge. So, right at this point, right now, we have no idea what the second premise has to look like. We do have a conjunction of two horseshoes right here. Right? So we'll assume that line 1 is going to be that first premise. On that assumption, you take out those variables and put in those statements. On that assumption, that tells you what your second premise has to be. Are you with me? So you got to map it out like that with all that information that you know about your argument form, like I just did. So now, who wants to demonstrate your perfect proof? Go. What? We did it. Yep. Stampede. One person. People are light years ahead of students in other professors' logic classes, I guarantee you. They're probably not even on Venn diagrams yet. Check it out, ask. Huh? You're light years ahead of students in other professors' logic classes.
I don't think Birdie, like at the beginning, that's for all the first chapter.
How did she do?
Mm-hmm.
Good?
Perfect.
Are you sure?
No.
Oh,
All the time, every day.
the red is okay, is that what you're,
That's the only one up there.
no, it's on
It's
the
on
table.
number 3.
I changed it.
Yeah.
I think the fourth, number 4.
Go ahead, change it. I don't know if you're right or not. Let it go.
One has a 3 next to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oops.
What do you guys think? Commas in the right place? Periods? Uh-oh,
Well, that was kind of.
that is important. I'd mark that wrong on the test. I'm not kidding. I'm not asking you to do backwards somersaults. If there's a period there, put a period there. It's a big deal. You telling me you can't do it?
Does that include the capital A now?
I don't know. I'm not looking. Is it right now?
Yes. It's close.
Okay, whether you need a break or not, I do. So, come back in 10 or so, and we'll look at your test results.